Hopefully everyone's doing well. Welcome to the MAGIA Mindset. Today's guest is a professional futsal player. Has represented the U.S. Futsal National Team this year at the FIFA Futsal World Cup. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome our guest, Daniel Mattos. Roll the intro.
Daniel, it's been such a long time since we spoke last time, but it's an absolute pleasure to get you on the episode. How you been?
Good, my friend. Busy. It's been a busy summer and beginning of the fall, but exciting.
Nice. I just wanted to get into basically. I know you just came back from playing in the World Cup for futsal, representing the U.S. But I wanted to get back before we get into that, your journey of how you got into futsal. Did you start out as an 11v11 player? Did you go into futsal right away? And talking about your journey to where you are today.
Sure. So, Shawn, I'm from Niterói, which is a small town near Rio de Janeiro city. It's part of Rio de Janeiro state. And back in my time, and when I was a kid, all the clubs that you guys probably know about, the Flamengo, Fluminense, Vasco, between 7 years old and 12, all they had was futsal. Now you go there, there's futsal, and they make a transition a little bit younger. But at my time, the transition was a U12. So I was seeing playing after school, like playing for fun, pick up soccer by a dad of a kid that already played on a team that competed in the Rio state for futsal. And I started like competitive at 8 years, like 7 years old, so U8 at that time. Then it was all futsal all the way U12, and that's when I made the transition to outdoor soccer. And actually, I mean, like many other players, if you go investigate the background of some players, the Coutinhos, the Marcelos, the Neymar, the guys playing nowadays, just like them, I also between 12 and 16, 15, doing both. So these clubs have two teams. Like back in the days, they wouldn't communicate. There was a fight between futsal and soccer departments to see who's gonna take the player for the weekend. Nowadays, it's completely different, which is pretty cool. They communicate and they share the players. But yeah, these ages, you're doing both usually between 12 and 14, 15.
Nice. And then when you transitioned from Brazil to America, you got into the university route as well, correct?
Correct. I was recruited by Barry Gorman at Penn State at that time. That was in 2005. I came in 06, but he saw me play in 2005.
How did that transition? You were playing outdoor for for NCAA Division I, and you transitioned just recently. I mean, I know you've been playing professionally futsal and indoor, and now you just played in the World Cup. How did that transition from D1 11v11 go into futsal?
Yeah, so just so we don't get confused, I was playing outdoor soccer from 12, 13 years old, right? When I was recruited, I was actually playing for a club called Goiás in Brazil at the U19s, U20s at that time. But yeah, I played college in America 4 seasons, and then after that, I think I had maybe a year or year and a half break, and then I went straight to indoor soccer, which is honestly, it's kind of my forte, my characteristics, because I said I have the background in futsal. As everybody knows, in America, the indoor soccer has boards, but again, it's a faster game, and the futsal background, not only the technique but the tactical understanding, of course, helps play indoor.
So if we fast forward to this past summer. How was the overall experience at the World Cup representing the United States?
Oh, it was amazing, Shawn. I mean, it's a dream come true for all of us. Like, especially me, a young kid from Brazil. Like, always dreamed about like being like a big stage like this. We all knew it was going to be extremely difficult task to play against these higher level teams. Our main competition was the Concacaf Qualifiers. Um, I was lucky enough to be in the very last one where we didn't even make to the final of the tournament of Concacaf. That was in 2015, and just being able to go to Guatemala, and we put a very good team together. The coaching staff did a great job with what they could have done. Basically, very limited resources to not only select players but actually train the players that were selected. We didn't have a lot of time together. Not some of us, actually, the 14 that actually ended up going to Guatemala had their very, very first game together against El Salvador on a Monday there, already for the competition. There was no scrimmage before that. So you put this all in one basket. It wasn't an unbelievable achievement not having a professional league, a futsal professional league in the US, and going out there and playing 6 games in 7 days, but that's what it was. Going all the way to the final, we had 6 games in 7 days. A huge accomplishment, putting the US back in the World Cup. And then a couple months later, we were all watching the drawing, right, of the FIFA World Cup. And unfortunately, we fell into the group of death. And the group of death, not because of us, because of Iran, Serbia, and Argentina. 3 top 10 teams. They were saying this never hasn't happened in the World Cup in a while, like where 3 top 10 teams, actually top 8, because Serbia was 8, and Iran 3, Argentina was the World Cup champion. It hasn't been a World Cup like this and a group like this in the World Cup, and that's us, the 4th team in there. It was, again, we had a very tough first game against Argentina. Things didn't go really well at the beginning of the game, and the ones who know futsal, we all know how it is. You don't open up the game well, things can go bad, especially a team like Argentina, like the World Cup champions. They smell blood, they go for it, and then we ended up losing by a lot, right? 11-0, if I'm not mistaken. But then it was extremely cool and how do I say, a proud moment for all of us to bounce back from that, and have a very good game against Iran, which, in all honesty, all of us in preparation for the World Cup, we thought Iran would be our toughest opponent. Just the style. When you analyze player by player, style by style, we all thought that Iran would give us the most problems. And it's like soccer, futsal. The game is like on the court. Put the ball there and let's play, and let's see how it goes. And then being the second game, everybody already, feeling themselves better. It was amazing, actually an amazing game. We ended up losing by 4-2. The 4th goal was the last, 30 seconds when we were pushing the FIFA attacker, which is like playing the extra field to play on the court. That's when we removed the goalie. But that was great.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a proud moment, but also a difficult moment, especially after a game, the first game against Argentina. I want to kind of go into more detail with that. How does the locker room, how does the coaching staff, how does the players, when you go there and it's how you start the first game, and you guys had to start like that. You go back to the locker room, you go back to the hotel. How do you guys bounce? What's the stuff you guys are doing to keep yourself engaged, motivated, inspired to kind of continue to represent the US in such a strong way?
Yeah, it's tough because it's very difficult. Like during the game specifically, locker room and after, you don't feel as much. Like I'm sure, like all of us have been part of a game that we are losing. They feel like hopeless, meaning not hopeless. Like there's not much you can do in that moment. Like, and then you're just asking for the time to go by, and then but then we go back to hotel. how you call it? It's a very, very strange vibe, or not a great atmosphere, right? But you wake up the next day, you have to start thinking about the next game, and that's how it was. Um, we had our morning walk, we had our morning meeting. We talk about like, hey, it's over. Next game, let's focus on the next opponent. Let's see what we can do to change our image. We talk about this, like, hey, it's not a good image for all of us individually and and for futsal in the US to start a World Cup like this. And let's have a good second game. Let's focus on what we can do, what we can control. And that's what we did. I mean, honestly, the coaching staff did a great job preparing ourselves, like with the videos and stuff for that game against Iran. I remember that feeling of feeling confident that we could have a good game, even with the beginning of Argentina. We felt we could have a good game, and that's what happened. Like, and it's just like it's like outdoor soccer or any other sport. We found a goal early. We scored the first goal, and that changes like the confidence, the momentum in the game. But it was a very cool experience playing such a good game. Like, Iran needed to win. They needed to win because, again, they're competing with each other who's going to go first in that group. So we were the team that they needed to win by a lot. That was their mentality, right? You could see in their faces, in their body language, like the frustration, and the coaching staff. Also, there were Iran's media there in our training sessions, and before they were treating that game as a war. Honestly, there was a lot of politics involved. We had interviews, and our coaching staff, players asking, responding to questions about what the game meant to us, right? So there was also like a vibe that Iran was there to embarrass us. They wanted to really beat us. So anyways, it just added more to the pot of that game, what that game meant. And never forget, that game was pretty good, pretty awesome performance and game overall.
No, it's crazy for some of our audience to realize, because of how the US has grown outdoor, how we're still professionally and nationally in our infancy stage. Like Iran, Serbia, like maybe internationally they haven't had the success on the 11v11, but in the futsal world, they're in the same ballpark as Brazil, Argentina, where they have leagues, they have courts. Kids are playing futsal, sometimes even more than outdoor. And this is religion. They know the rules, they know the tricks, they know the nicks to get around certain things. So for you guys to go there and do what you guys did, it's so huge. It's so huge. I want to kind of transition from that experience to now you kind of Brazilian, the values of futsal and how it incorporates to a lot of the South Americans. I mean, it's Brazilians and Argentinians majority, but a lot of South Americans with futsal, street soccer. What are the values? What does it develop for players that want to even play their overall career outdoor? What is a foundation that people can take from this?
So there are a couple of things that a lot of people get mixed up when they think about futsal for development. A lot of people sell or talk about futsal being like a technical game. You need technique to play. Honestly, in soccer and futsal, beach soccer, of course, you need technique to play this game. But with all the respect, I don't think you put a kid that struggles technically and you put a kid to play futsal only and it's going to be a technical player out of a sudden. I don't think that's the futsal's job here. Let's put it this way. There are many things that I would like to talk about here, but I'll choose a few. One is accountability, responsibility. There's no place to hide in futsal. The game is fast. So on the ball, like my teammate has a ball, I need to be an option all times. Am I expanding the field to give width or depth, or am I supporting because I need to support for a wall pass or literally to release pressure? Off the ball, am I the one individual defending? So individual defending, it's a huge thing in futsal. If you can't individual defend, you cannot play the game. And we often miss that, right? We don't even talk about defending, the benefits of defending futsal. But now think about group defending. If my teammate's pressing, do I cover space? Do I cover him or her? Or do I just provide balance? How do I manage space, player, my teammates pressing the ball? All of this play a huge role in development, in my opinion. And we talk about the values of South Americans, and then it comes the creativity, right? Now I'm going to add another one, of course, the creativity. You need to solve problems. And the fact that futsal is faster, smaller, less players, the currency of action is like 3, 4, 5 times more than outdoor game. So you constantly making decisions, which means you're solving problems. So kids at 8 years old, 9 years old, in a more controlled environment, flat shoes, the ball is always the same, the surface is always the same. There's no rain, there's no bumps, there's no high grass, low grass. It's always the same. In a very controlled environment, they have more actions. They're doing always more in training and in games. You add it up, like then becomes math. If you spend 4 years doing a Netflix documentary, the kid that plays futsal from 8 to 12 and a kid that plays outdoor from 8 to 12, just see how many times they're going to be involved in a soccer action. And that's not on the ball, a soccer action. So again, I'm a huge fan, a huge advocate, but a lot about like the accountability, right? You got to defend, you got to be able to play, cannot hide. And then all the things that the game itself teaches you, honestly, some of the rules of the game already help you. Having 4 seconds to put the ball back in play. So I'm a 4-year-old, I'm a 9-year-old, ball goes out of bounds. My teammate grabs the ball. When my teammate puts the ball down, the referee does 1, 2, 3, 4. How many times we've seen youth throwing, and there's kids standing, and we have coaches move, exchange positions, check in, check out, right? Futsal teaches you like automatically, just by the rule. The pass back the goalie. It's an even game, 4v4. Once the goalie puts the ball down, you cannot play the ball back to the goalie. You must solve the problem. You can't have numerical advantage the whole time by using the goalie. That's the pass back to the goalie futsal rule. It's just one time per possession. The goalie drops, you cannot play it back to the goalie until the opponent touches the ball. So there's all of this in addition to the technical stuff that we can talk about, the soul, the foot, the way you shooting futsal. Sorry, I extended myself too much here.
No. I love it too, because right now, before we get into the youth part and how important that is right now, because it is growing a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. I'm getting our Academy's foundation of futsal incorporated in. There's teams coming in. There was this past competition, the United Futsal competition that blew up, and there's players that there's youth teams going to Spain to do it. So it is growing. It is excitement. A lot of parents want to know more, and some that just learned about the outdoor have no idea about the futsal. So when you extend yourself and the knowledge about it, it's huge. It's huge. And our audience loves to kind of hear that aspect. What I wanted to kind of get into, it is the rules a little bit, and how that we're talking about values futsal teaches you. How is the rules, if we can kind of break it down, like you said, the 5 seconds, you can't use the goalie. So can the goalie roll it to your teammate and then you can use them, or it's nonstop, you can't use them?
So when the ball goes let's start with the goalie first. Then when the ball goes out of bounds, and it's a goalie restart, there's no goal kick, right? The goalie has to put the ball back in play using his or her hands, can throw the ball over the half court, can roll to a teammate. Once the goalie plays a teammate, the teammate cannot play the ball back to the goalie until the opponent touches the ball. So let's say You, my teammate, I pass to you, Shawn, and then you get pressed. It's a 50-50 ball, and then you recover the ball. You can play back to me, and I can use my feet as your goalie. The other thing is the FIFA attacker, to use the goalie as an extra player, the goalie himself or herself has to be over the half. So let's pretend I'm in goal. The goalkeeper restart. If we want to play FIFA attacker from the restart, from the goalie, I have to play you and run across the half. I can only touch the ball back over the half. So my teammates have to find a mechanism to move the ball all the way there. So then once we get there, we have a 5 versus 4. That's why you're usually going to see teams putting the FIFA attacker, subbing the goalie, the field player, when it's out of bounds on the sides. It's easier to right away find a structure to put the goalie over the half and create that 5v4. So that's one. Every restart is 4 seconds, including the goalie restarts. Once the goalie grabs the ball from a save or from out of bounds, grabs the ball, enters the field, the goalie has 4 seconds. Same for the side kick on the side. No throw-ins, of course. You put the ball down on the line. Once you put the ball down, referee counts 4 seconds. What else? It's an important rule. Maybe the subbing rule. It's unlimited, right? So a little bit different than indoor soccer. For people who watch indoor soccer, the ball doesn't go out of bounds, so you're usually very tired running. Blah, blah, blah. You stay on the court for 2 minutes max, and not in professional indoor soccer because of the intensity. In futsal, the ball goes out of bounds. That's your moment to breathe. So usually you are on the court for 4 or 5 minutes, but that's it. The intensity of the game requires you to have subs. Some teams are going to have 4 guys always playing together. They come off, 4 guys always playing together. We call this lines, like in hockey, like in indoor soccer. But it's unlimited. You just need to wait for your teammate to actually cross the subbing zone for you to get in. What else for rules that actually impact the game? They're very different outdoors. I think that's it. Those are the main ones.
I was going to go back to the goalkeeper. I think this is so fascinating. The rules, how you can't use him unless you win a ball, and the certain times that he can be the attacker, he's got to pass the half. What is it that they've incorporated these rules? What is it really promoting through this aspect of the goalkeeper? You can't go negative, because in today's game, Daniel, you know this as well. How many times in the 11v11, a lot of the teams are using the goalkeeper? In the youth, it's like, reset it. Now sometimes it's overuse. Reset it. So I want to know this futsal aspect with the players now playing this, because now the game is teaching you with this rules. Mentality is kind of wired in there. What is the benefit and what is it promoting?
I think, I don't think there's there's a thought behind the actual development of players, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I think it's more the dynamics of the game. Game could become like very slow and a 5v4 game the whole time, if that's because futsal has different dimensions. There's like outdoor soccer, there's a minimum court, official minimal size, and there's the bigger size. So if you go to a minimal size court and you play with the goalkeeper the whole time, it's a different game. Think about it. Like, it's going to be a 5v4 game, and it changed the dynamic of the game, the visuals and everything. Just so you know, there's a very, like the recently elected 4 times best goalkeeper on the planet. His name is Igita. He plays for Kazakhstan. He's actually a friend of mine. He's Brazilian too, from the same hometown. We grew up playing against each other, same age. He plays for Kazakhstan. He's been in Kazakhstan for a while. Kazakhstan is a powerhouse in futsal. They actually lost in this World Cup in the semifinal. Igita is unbelievable playing with his feet. He's constantly crossing the half himself as a goalie. So they don't even sub. They don't even put a field player in his position because he's really good distributing the ball and shooting. Scores lots of goals. A couple of years ago, some Inter Movistar from Madrid, Barcelona, Sporting Lisbon, Benfica, bunch of coaches of these teams put a letter together to UEFA and FIFA asking to change the FIFA tackle rule, that trying to pass to FIFA where you can only use that situation the last 3 minutes of the game of each half. Because Igita's club, which is a club from Kazakhstan, FC Karait, was using that a lot. Every out of bounds, they had so many mechanisms to actually move the ball and poop. Igita was over the half, and they would keep like a 5v4 game over the half for winning or losing the game. Winning, losing, they would do that. It changed the dynamics of the game, right? It becomes a different game for everybody to watch and, of course, to play. But their rule or their recommendation never passed. People were worried this was going to happen this World Cup, but it wasn't approved and remains like I was telling you.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. And it's funny, like the Kazakhstan, how it's a powerhouse in futsal, but when you think about it in the football world, you're like, Kazakhstan, I've never heard of it, but it's a different element, and that's why it shows the beautiful thing that this game has. You have successful games of beach soccer, footy tennis, now with tech ball, then with futsal, indoor soccer, outdoor soccer. There's so many wrinkles within one sport. One sport, I don't think any other sport has this many variations within the game. And you can, if you just love the game, you can just use your training to play different forms of games. You're like, I want to do my training. I'm not going to lift weights. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go beach soccer. I'm going to go tech ball. I'm going to go soccer, futsal. I'm going to go indoor soccer, and I'm going to go outdoor. That's my form of fitness, my training. It could be that. And some can just do their training through games. I mean, that's the joy of this game. And I think it's a unique animal. And I think that's one of the reasons it's called like the beautiful game. Mm-hmm. I want to transition into our youth. I know how much of an important role you have as a player, but more as a coach as well, creating your futsal factory and the stuff you're promoting in the Mid-East, as well as trying to transition to East Coast as well, and it's growing and growing. Where is this game heading in the futsal game? Let's just say from now till the World Cup coming to America. How do you see this, since you've been in the trenches of it? How do you see this game growing within the United States?
I'm gonna say what I would like to see, and I can say what and then I can also answer like what I think it's gonna happen. Okay, what I would like to see, I would love to see futsal achieve two things. One, have a professional league its own at the so the adult professional level. Nothing crazy, like maybe the level, like something to start the level of indoor soccer is, which is also a very niche market. Not many people know about it, but it's a professional league. Like these clubs are actually paying the players, supporting. Like I play for a club. Milwaukee Wave has a nice structure here, like such, professional environment. I would love to see a professional futsal league that helps in many ways. And I would love to see the sport being played in schools or even potentially become like a college sport. I don't think it's like, how you say, utopia? Is that like, I don't think it's like too far to think. Mm-hmm. The structure's already there. Every school, every college has a gym. All you need to put lines and like a futsal goal. And of course, find some sort of program. And there's like some countries with, I think Canada has futsal in college now, if I'm not mistaken. I know Scotland, even England was having that. Those are two things I think would benefit the sport of futsal. Then what I think it's going to happen, it's going to take a while for this to come to fruition, if it comes. But between now and 2026, I think at the youth level, we're going to see even more of a boom. Academies like mine or people like-minded, like that really believe in futsal, are gambling. What I put gambling is you have to dedicate time. You have to get away from your comfort zone if you want to start something that's unknown in your area. And all of us coach soccer. All of us get paid to work for a club, right? It's not an easy decision for you to gamble forming some sort of futsal program. I do think that clubs, higher level clubs, the pay-to-play ones, that play all these leagues that we know of, like the MLS Next, the GA, all these bigger clubs in areas. It's my dream, but I see a couple already investing more in futsal, especially for their feeding programs, and that's what I think it should be the focus, U12 and younger. Whatever they do, if they have their own program, awesome, or if they use other clubs, maybe work with these other clubs to have futsal implemented. I think this will happen eventually, just because they are seeing kids who are saying, you know what, sorry, during this part of the year, I'm going to go to Daniel Mattos Futsal Factor Academy and I'm going to train and play with him. And they come back, it's, you see the benefits, you see the kids like loving the game and improving from it. So that's what I think we will see. We will see the MLS clubs, we will see the bigger clubs finding a way to invest in futsal, right? Like to implement futsal in their programs. I just hope it comes sooner than later, because I think it's a huge long-term investment for U.S. soccer. I always tell this to my parents. I tell this to my fellow coaches. Futsal is not a solution for American soccer. It's not, but it's definitely a missing tool. It's a tool that we're missing, and it's here. Every city has a gym, a public gym. Every city has public outdoor courts. All you need is like 2 goals. The lines, we can even play the basketball lines for now. 2 goals and a futsal ball, not a soccer ball. Don't give the kids a bouncy ball. Give them a futsal ball that can roll on the ground.
No, absolutely. I see 2 leagues that are on the thing, and I just want to kind of, so we can get more informative on those 2 leagues and understand the leagues and the separations or the combination of it. The U.S. Youth Futsal, as well as the United Futsal. What is the difference? Are they in one? Do they host different competitions, similar competitions? If we can kind of go into detail of those branches of leagues and obviously affiliations.
Yeah, that's a kind of a delicate topic, because every year something changes within them as well. But there are actually 3. There's also U.S. Futsal Federation, which, in my opinion, that separation between 3, let's call associations, right? Because there are private associations that are running futsal in this country. This separation doesn't really help, right? In my opinion, we need more unification and more some sort of collaboration between them to help academies like mine and parents who are jumping to this sport to understand this whole thing. But there's not much difference. I'll tell you why. All 3 of them try to have academies like mine affiliated to them to play in regional events, so you can go to regionals. And then if you win or finish second regionals in your division age group, you go to their own nationals, right? And they all have one national event. United Futsal came up with this model recently. Before that, Robbie Andrews, who run United Futsal, he was only involved in one-off events. So he runs a very, very nice event in Barcelona, right? The World Futsal, I forgot what it's called, but then he also runs a one-off event called World Futsal Championship in the summer. For years at Disney, now at a convention hotel center in both in Orlando. very nice events, very nice, well-run events, usually attracting international teams. Me, as Futsal Fight Academy co-owner, me and my partner, Drew Ducker, since day one, we have decided to stay independent and support all of them, honestly. We take teams to all of them, as long as they accept us, and they've been accepting us because they know we put good teams and we send good teams. We've been to all of their tournaments, regionals, nationals, the World Futsal Championship. Because we want our kids to experience, but at the same time, our model fits only so much. We are a little bit different than many futsal academies out there. Some of them have expanded and went a different path, meaning becoming a futsal club where they also put teams in outdoor competition, stuff like that. This is not what our motto is about. So I guess I gave you, I hope I gave you the best answer I could here, but technically, they are trying to provide competition for everyone who is involved in futsal. Little bit different model, but when you look from outside, it's the same idea. Club affiliation, academy affiliation to them, so they can compete in regionally and then go nationally.
No, I think it's kind of they need to get the buy-in of families as well here, where the thing is, a lot of the families love the tournaments, like the different variation affiliations. So I think these different affiliations, setting up those tournament styles, there's a buzz about it that's familiar to a lot of these parents where they go into those. I'm in the process of launching our futsal program. And I know a lot of other directors, founders, people that are creating futsal, and seeing how the buzz is growing. There's an excitement with it. They wanted to get things incorporated in. For them, what are the requirements? What is it with facility, what amount of teams you need to host to be able to take into competition? Are you able to be a boutique futsal starting out with 1 team, 2 teams, or you need to have a minimum of 6 teams, have to have a host facility? Just wanted to kind of get into that, since you've already done these kind of tournaments within your futsal factory. And how did you come about to creating it with so much competition of outdoor?
Yeah, it's not easy. Depending, like in every region has its own, particular demands, let's put it this way, because of Midwest is one thing. Florida is different than California and Texas as far as like soccer calendar and the amount of training sessions or games these kids are playing throughout the year for their own outdoor club. And that's one thing that we as an academy, answering your question, decided to not create as many conflicts. That we have the support of clubs in our area because we don't compete and the kids are not missing out their programs by playing with us. If I add one more training session a week, I could create all sort of problems. If I put my teams in futsal leagues, I could create all sort of problems. So we decided on a specific route and we think it's working. That's how we want to stay. But in regards to starting, no, of course, you don't have to have your own facility. You can rent anything. And no, you don't need a specific number of teams. I'm not sure these companies, United Futsal, US Youth Futsal, or US Futsal Federation, if currently to be affiliated with them, if they currently require you to have a certain amount of teams. I'm not totally sure. I don't think so. But you could literally, if you're going to start with few teams, like 1, 2, 3 teams, I would definitely recommend going to local tournaments, nothing affiliated with them. Like this is basically what we do. Honestly, we have our own tournament in Michigan, own tournament in Illinois. We have academies that are friends of ours hosting their own tournaments, and we go to theirs. We do a collaboration. I would recommend you going to starting like that, going to local, smaller tournaments have a feeling for it. The kids needs to play. Playing a game of futsal is different than training, right? And then eventually you're gonna try to make this regionals, right? Of any of these three, you can literally go to all three. Sometimes they ended up having their events the same weekend, which is funny. But you could literally go to all three if you want to with your team.
And then you don't need a certain amount of teams. You can go as an independent and participate in all of those big events.
This has happened before.
Okay.
I see this every year.
Oh, that's good. So did you go to this past, I think summer, the United Futsal was holding an event of the tournament with Futsal Factory?
Yeah, you talk about the United Futsal, the World Championship in
Yes.
Orlando? Yeah. So we went there. We took 4 teams, I believe, three or 4 teams. Yeah, it's amazing. Like Rob Andrews and his staff, they do a really good job. I really like their events. Really super well organized. The format this year was different because this was the first year they had like their national series going. What I mean by that, clubs that literally affiliated with them. So when he made divisions, he kept them separate from gas academies like me and many others that go there yearly. And this year, because of COVID, we didn't have a lot of support from international clubs. Usually he has clubs come from Australia, from Brazil, which is pretty cool. I remember 2 years ago, 2 of my boys' teams playing like a quarterfinal, semifinal against a Brazilian team, which is an amazing experience for the kids.
No, and there was some, because we saw clips of it, and some of our friends that were talking about it, they're like saying that there's some good little young talents that are there, 8-year-old, 9-year-olds, that you can tell if it's outdoor or futsal, they got some good flavors. So, I mean, that's promising to see when you have the youth that are playing it, but they're adding their own personality. We have coaches like yourself that are promoting it to self-express as well. You know, Daniel, as we're getting close to wrapping it up, I want to get into this last part of our kind of podcast discussion. Is I want to like know about you, your style, your perspective, your style of play. How did it come about? What is it that likes to promote? Because everybody likes to promote a game in a certain way. I mean, I hope everyone does, because I think that makes the individual, it expresses the culture and environment they grew up in and what they feel in their eyes. There's no wrong way it should be played. I want to know what your background of coming from Brazil, coming here, futsal, outdoor, having those variations. What is the style of play you like to play and promote, and kind of see the game growing in that direction?
Yeah, great question. So as I got into more coaching education, both in outdoor and futsal, actually, I start understanding that everything that I believe in as a player and I like to pass to my players, like literally everything. Sorry, I wouldn't say everything, but most things relate to one motto style, which is positional play, the creation of advantages, positional advantage, numerical advantages, So, and here's a cool thing. A lot of it you see out there in positional play theory. And of course, there's a lot of good material out there. A lot of it relates to futsal. It's crazy. And again, I'm a huge believer in the perfection or the focus on individual tactics. What I mean by individual tactics is I don't call passing and receiving like a technical part of the game. I call like a tactical. Every pass is different. Every first touch is different, in my opinion. So kids understanding, putting them in situations, literally creating games where they can understand that every pass has a meaning. Playing your teammate's proper foot, I usually say, it's funny, like I talk about like my pass has information. Every time my pass means something. If I pass too strong to you, Shawn, you need to take a touch. So I'm not allowing you to take a one touch anymore. So you're not going to lay off the ball. If I play to your weak foot, if I know you're righty, I'm not facilitating your next action, right? Or maybe I'm sending you a message. I want you to turn that way. So those are little things that are within the theory of positional play, like a lot of the principles, I guess. But again, creating numerical advantages to actually be able to progress the ball from one area to the other. Understanding and really defining transitional moments, what we're going to do as a team. Make sure the players understand the roles, right? What we should do. And these last 5 years that I've dedicated myself into like more futsal education than ever, because it's important to notice that too, that futsal is a sport that traditionally didn't have lots of written material. So coach education, even back home in Brazil, was a very niche market. And the last 5-7 years, it exploded, which is it's crazy. It's everywhere now, especially in Brazil, where I get most of my education from. And the more you dive into it, oh my goodness, the more you see how related to the current outdoor game it is. We all know that you watch European football, you watch South American, the game space has reduced. People are trying to play against a team that's defending within 25 yards or 25 meters. A futsal court that you play 5v5, 4 on the field, has 20 meters. There's a picture in the Brazilian league, Flamengo trying to penetrate against Cuiabá. Cuiabá had 10 players, field players, within 20 meters. How do you play? How do you create advantage now? Are you going to put 4 against their line of 5 so you can pin players? How are you going to create mechanism to actually break that? I love that. There's a lot of like futsal specific movements, right? That are related to the outdoor game that I'm just like falling in love again with all of this, because the modern game of outdoor soccer has so much to do with futsal. Extending myself too much, I would say positional play and the focus on creating advantages. That's my thing.
No, Daniel, I love that. And I think we need more coaches like that love to understand situations, opponents, why, solve that problem. How do we go into our sessions prepping for that? You know, I really love the point you talked about. Passing is not technical, it's tactical. You're delivering a message with that ball of how to go. Because now as a player, if they're educated from you as a coach, that's how you're supposed to play. Now they're thinking about, their head is up when they're looking to pass a ball, how to set it up. And if they don't like that setup, they don't just let the ball go. Mm-hmm. And they're thinking about the next steps of, they want, when they're passing it, their opponent to do what they're doing in communication. And that's kind of talking a language of football in a deeper way. It's like poetry and movement, and it's poetry and dialogue. You know, when we start to look at things in a deeper way, you start to break it down. You're like wanting to, and when players start to get that, they start to get educated. Now they say, how did he see that? How do you think? Because he's been taught, he's been communicated to not look just right there, to look 3, 2, 4, 5 steps further in progressing. Daniel, thank you so much for, coming on our podcast, discussing futsal. We would love to have you again more. The way we like to close out our episodes is we like to put it on our guests. If they have anything going on, projects they're working on in their community that we want our audience to be knowledgeable about, so they can kind of research and go into it more. It's a platform to educate our audience more, showing them the resources that are available to them and how they can utilize it.
Awesome. So I guess two things I'll mention. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's amazing to have these discussions. I love talking about futsal and the relationship with soccer. One thing is that we are, as an academy, the Futsal Factor Academy, we are currently in Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, and we just opened 2 new programs, Northern Colorado, which is about to start with John over there, and Wisconsin, we already started. We had our evaluation nights, tryouts to form our teams, and we've had like a great success, way more than expected number of kids like attending our tryouts. So I believe we're gonna be able to form 17 or 18 teams first year, which is amazing for Wisconsin. All of them have their accounts on social media. So if you type Wisconsin Futsal Factor Academy, Michigan Futsal Factor Academy, Illinois Futsal Factor Academy, you guys can follow us there. Second thing, I did recently during the pandemic, I did like a material. It was posted on YouTube. I would have to find like how it's actually labeled. But if you type Daniel Mattos Futsal, I'm pretty sure you're gonna see it. He was part of a Brazilian group of coaches. We put a lot of material during the pandemic, and this material is actually in English. And I talk actually about positional play in a 3-1 system. So having the target player, the pivot in futsal. It just breaks down the creation of advantages, like I was talking to you about it, and how we did it, and usually using clips of actually my U11 at that time, maybe U12 boys at that time, playing in Orlando against a Brazilian team, actually. It's pretty cool. You guys want more than welcome to check it out. Let me know how it goes. If you have any questions, Shawn, you can share my contact information with everybody. But again, super cool to be talking about futsal again.
No, absolutely. Definitely got to get you back on. I know as the game is growing, we would love to even get you back on, not even in the futsal aspect, just to discuss and break down game, get different variation, break down education. I think I would love to even get you back on, Daniel, to discuss a specific topic of the game. And we can even go on that so they can get a different, our audience can get a different variation of you as well. But absolute pleasure. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Shawn. Appreciate it.